Yeah, there's quite an increasing number of females in Sweden that are afraid of going out. There's actually a survey on this. I can't remember the exact figure, but it's around 35% of Swedish women are afraid to go outside alone at night now. And in no-go zones like Rinkeby and other places, it's up to over 50%.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
My guest now is Peter Sweden. I think you can still find him on YouTube and Twitter. I don't think they've banned him there yet. I'm certain they will try. At Peter Sweden 7 is his Twitter handle, and he also has a YouTube channel. Again, though, I make light of the censorship. It's very real, though. And Peter, you are somebody that is independent. You fund yourself, and you've used PayPal to do that in the past. But because of your
want to have me as a customer anymore. So I'm banned. And well, what's the nature of my activities? Well, I'm just a journalist reporting on what's happening in Sweden, because as many know by now, the mainstream media, they have a biased agenda. They really don't want to report what's actually happening in Sweden, with the rape crisis, all the bombings and so on. So that's what I'm doing. And apparently someone didn't like the truth getting out. So the globalists over at PayPal, the authoritarians as they are, decided to ban me.
Yeah, and we're looking at one tweet here that's, very powerful to me, but this is exactly why they want you banned, because you report the truth. You tweeted this out just yesterday. Sweden, and then you list a bullet point of facts, 55 no-go zones. I believe Rinkeby is one of those where a man was just shot. 200 explosions in 2017, that's explosive attacks. Rape capital of Europe. Probably the rape capital of the world. I'm not sure if we can say that in confidence yet, but it's getting there. 139 hand grenade attacks in 3 years. I don't recall any wars being fought in Sweden. Why are people lobbing hand grenades at each other? People wear bulletproof vests due to unprecedented shootings. You have the Swedish government and other governments in Europe saying, look, if you're a woman, don't go out alone. Don't go out alone. You just cannot do it. And then this story comes out of the Daily Mail. If there is any good news, this is actually different than what we discussed last time. Sweden is finally investigating the soaring number of rapes. So it looks like there finally might be some interest in trying to do something about the rape that's going on in Sweden right now. But yeah, all you do is report the real news. You've been banned now from PayPal. What about Twitter? What about YouTube? I mean, have you experienced any other type of censorship other than PayPal shutting you down?
Not on YouTube. I did actually get on Twitter here twice now. I got an email from Twitter saying that some government, they didn't say which one, but some government has reported some of my tweets. Correctly though, Twitter did find that my tweets didn't violate their rules, but that's still a bit scary that the government is reporting my tweets when I'm just reporting the news about what's happening in Sweden. So that's kind of worrying. And, with this Project Veritas revelations here just the last few days with the Twitter censorship, it's quite worrying.
Yeah, so here you have, and I don't know if you know what government it was or not. I'm not going to offer any guesses. My only guess would be Sweden. I don't know what other government would be reporting you, but
I would
how
guess
about that?
Maybe Germany.
Maybe Germany? Oh, yeah, okay. But think about this, though. You get reported. So you've got a government following you. A government is monitoring you. You've never done anything violent. You've never done anything illegal, but the government is here monitoring you. Meanwhile, you've got radical Muslims being forced into your country and other countries in Europe that are raping people, killing people, destroying cultures, destroying societies. But we're going to monitor you, Peter. We need to make sure that you are under control.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I mean, Sweden has had, as you just said before, last 3 years, there's been 139 hand grenade attacks in Sweden. And these all comes, from the no-go zones, which very much consist of migrants, unfortunately. Just a few days ago, a pensioner was actually killed by a hand grenade attack in just outside Stockholm. a 60-year-old guy killed by hand grenade attack in Sweden in 2018. I mean, it's literally turning into a war zone. I mean, the Swedish police actually said that the hand grenade problem in Sweden is unprecedented for a country that is not at war. So, you would think they might want to focus on those things instead of attacking the messenger.
You would think, but that's not what you get. Now, what is this, your most recent tweet, and I'm not sure if you have started to follow this or not as far as reporting is concerned, but 2 men shot at a pizzeria in Sweden. This is right after a man was shot dead at a pizzeria in Rinkeby, which is a no-go zone. What are you thinking about this? Does this look like this might be more migrant violence, or you haven't done enough research yet to know for sure?
Well, often it's very hard to find out exactly who is behind these shootings because the Swedish police never really report the ethnicity of these attackers. But there has been an increasing amount of shootings in Sweden. I mean, in the Swedish city of Helsingborg, there's been a 300% increase in shootings, and there's been a massive increase all over Sweden as a whole. And this can all be attributed to criminal gangs, more or less, doing these things. And these criminal gangs do consist of migrants almost exclusively. So you have these criminal gangs, and they are the ones that run these no-go zones. And the shootings, for whatever reason, they shoot each other and just cause mayhem.
Is this like the same no-go zones that you can see in London and France and Germany, where if you're a white person walking through alone, I mean, you'll be lucky if you don't come out with a couple bumps and bruises.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing you see all over Europe. They're popping up in Sweden, in London, and in different countries now, unfortunately, because what happens is when these migrants come from, say, Iraq or Afghanistan, and they come to Europe, they really don't integrate very well for whatever reason, and there is already an existing network of criminal gangs that they then, with the same culture as them, so then they join up with them, and these gangs just grow and grow and grow and take over more and more territory. And then
I think there's another overlying issue that you kind of just touched on, but I think I just realized it now, where they never assimilate to the Swedish culture. There's no effort, there's no timetable, there's no anything to even try to get them to assimilate, as you were saying. But then I think what happens is, since they come in such big numbers, they actually assimilate to their own lifestyle in Sweden. So it's like, because they come in so many numbers and then they get so centrally located in these areas, they just basically bring the hellhole of their country or wherever they came from to Sweden instead of trying to assimilate.
Correct, yes. I mean, that's exactly what's happening. And that's why...
So it's like colonization, the crew is telling me.
Correct. That's exactly what's happening. I mean, if you look at Sweden, it's really, as I said in my tweet, more and more people are now wearing bulletproof vests, and that's because these criminal gangs are shooting each other up, and people are wearing bulletproof vests now to protect themselves. There was actually two people who actually shot here the other day, and they actually managed to survive because they had bulletproof vests on them. So wow. This was just a couple of days ago, and then you had the guy who was shot in Rinkeby, and then there was another shooting tonight. So, yeah, I mean, it's really.
I'm not going to act like I'm some Swedish history buff, but I remember growing up, I was always kind of interested in just the world and National Geographic, and I remember following Sweden. Sweden was never a violent country. I feel like violence and criminal activity in Sweden, 10, 20 years ago, very low, almost none at all. Why the sudden change? Well, it's obvious. I mean, they're forcing basically colonization of radical Muslims into Sweden with no effort or care for assimilation at all.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, I was growing up in Sweden just 10 years ago. It was super peaceful. You would walk, you would eat meatballs. You would walk in the sun. I mean, the sun goes down since it's so far up north. It's almost midnight sun. You're out walking in the midnight sun, eating meatballs, pink sky, peaceful. But that all sadly changed due to the policies of the government.
Oh man, no, it really is sad. And you got these stories now. It's like, I'd love to go to Sweden, but I don't want to walk around with a bulletproof vest. I'd love to go to London, but I don't want to be in London when the mayor says terrorism is part and parcel. I mean, this is just ridiculous. I mean, what happened to common sense? Another segment with Peter Sweden. I want to get more into this rape and what you're hearing from Swedish women on the issue, if they're even aware. Don't go anywhere.
Thank you all for coming together to represent our party at its best.
I am standing in the middle of
of 1984 civilization.
Let resistance equal progress.
Yeah, this kind of feels fascist to me, yet they're out here protesting fascism. They put it in their music videos, they hold up decapitated heads, plays in the New York Public Theater. Are you trying to fight me, bro? Yeah, trying to engage in political discourse with these people, and you've seen the responses time and time again. And this represents the strength, the courage, and the bravery that we can have freedom and prosperity.
The War Room. Infowars.com/show.
You know, I already knew that liberalism was a mental disorder, but every once in a while it just hits you again like a wave, and it just gets more real and real. I'm going through Peter Sweden's Twitter account on the break and just reading some of these tweets. I mean, it's just like these people are sick. I mean, these people are genuinely mentally sick. And I don't know what the solution is. I mean, I don't want to have to send them all to mental institutions, but maybe that's what they need. I mean, maybe that's what we actually should do out of the goodness of our heart, is to send these people to mental institutions. And then they have the nerve to say, and this is just projection, President Trump is unfit to run the country. No, President Trump is so fit to run this country that it's a joke you would even suggest that. And the real irony here is that they're the ones that are unfit. And Peter, you're dealing with the situation now, and I'm not sure exactly what the answer is over there. Here, I believe we can fix our problems politically. It's just a matter of winning the info war. But over there, I mean, what are we going to do? Because here's the reality of the situation. Just like they want to say we can't have Trump running the country, he's mentally deranged. Well, that's fake news. But there is an element of truth to that where, yeah, we can't have mentally deranged people running our country. That is absolutely true. And so you got all these brain dead, brainwashed, ignoramus liberals that create voter blocks and then think that they can run the country. No, you are the ones that are mentally unstable that shouldn't be running the country. You are the ones that are mentally unfit. What is the answer in Sweden to this? I mean, do you have a political answer? I mean, is it just, does everyone have to have someone directly they know affected by rape or by a murder from a migrant? I mean, what is the solution? I don't even know where to go.
Well, I mean, that's actually happening more and more now. I mean, many people have a friend or relative who has been raped or attacked. I mean, I actually tell you, in one particular county called Skaraborg in Sweden, 1 in 5 of all women have been the victims of crime. Now, the police are actually dealing with 30 rape cases at the moment, and 1 in 5 of all the women there have been the victims of crime. And this is quite a big place. There's 200,000 people living there, and 1 in 5 all women. I mean, it's insane. So it's getting to the point now in Sweden where many people have a friend or relative who has been raped or been a victim of crime. And there is an upcoming election here now in 2018 in Sweden. And we have a kind of Trumpish party called the Swedish Democrats. They are a nationalist party. They want to stop mass migration. They want to deal with these no-go zones and these criminal gangs and so on. They're quite patriotic.
So there is a common sense political movement in Sweden right now?
Yes, and they are actually, some of the latest polls I've seen, they're either polling in second place or first place. But the problem is in Sweden, the way the parliament is set up, unless you have over 50% of the votes, it's quite hard to form a government because all of the other parties refuse to work with them because they are racist. So, yeah, it's an interesting situation. But I mean, we have quite an uprising of alternative media in Sweden as well, reporting more and more truth about what's happening. And that's the funny thing, because the Swedish government is looking to work together with the Swedish mainstream media to ban and censor alternative media before the election. So they want to work together with Facebook and Google to ban anything that's fake news or alternative media
or triggering.
Yeah, yeah. To try and alter. Basically, it's a censorship to try and alter the outcome of the election. I mean, they talk about the Russia hacking the election in America. Well, actually, in Sweden, we have the Swedish government trying to hack the Swedish election itself by banning the truth. Yeah. So that's kind of worrying. And I mean, there's more countries in Europe doing this.
Well, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I hope that political movement is able to catch some headwind. Obviously, the government is doing everything they can to stop it. But just to go back to the rape issue right now that you're dealing with, again, the story from the Daily Mail, Sweden investigates soaring number of rapes. Now, the last time you were on air with me, they didn't even want to touch this. They were not doing investigations for the most part. They didn't want to touch it. It was too overwhelming. Now it looks like it's become such an issue that they are being forced to investigate finally. Of course, we know why they're soaring. We know why all the rapes are happening at the same rate they're bringing in these migrants from the Middle East. But I'm just curious for your friends, people that you hang out with, people that you talk to, specifically females, because they are the ones victimized by this mostly. I mean, what are they thinking? What are they feeling? Do they even go out anymore? Do they even leave their house? I mean, what are just kind of your female colleagues saying and thinking about all this?
Yeah, there's quite an increasing number of females in Sweden that are afraid of going out. There's actually a survey on this. I can't remember the exact figure, but it's around 35% of Swedish women are afraid to go outside alone at night now. And in no-go zones like Rinkeby and other places, it's up to over 50%. It's quite bad. I mean, in Malmö, for example, many women there are afraid to go outside as well, because there are many no-go zones there too in Malmö. And they actually, I don't know if you saw the story, but in the Swedish city of Oskarshamn, the Swedish police actually had armed police escorting people out jogging at night because they were so afraid of getting assaulted. And that was actually all over the news. Even
I'm
in
guessing though
media.
it's not Muslim people that need the police escort though.
Yeah, no, this is all Swedish people.
Oh, so it's the white people. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, you shouldn't underestimate that quite a lot of migrants are victims of this crime in Sweden as well.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah. What are you going to do if you want to bring migrants in to actually give them a better living situation, but then you destroy your own living situation because it's so out of control?
Correct. Yes. I mean, because many of these no-go zones, I mean, they are 90% migrant, and much of the crime that's going on in these no-go zones. And actually, a lot of the victims are actually going to be migrants. I mean, there was one after the hand grenade attack here that killed a pensioner a couple of days ago. Swedish media interviewed a migrant called Malek. If you search after him, you can find him. But they interviewed him, Malek, and he actually told Swedish media that he had lived in a country that was at war, but now Sweden was turning into war as well. And they said that Sweden was broken and he didn't feel safe anymore. And this is a migrant in Sweden saying this. And even migrants are feeling unsafe now. And I also read a report in the Swedish city of Malmö. Migrants want to leave in droves because they are afraid of what's happening because of all the crime. So it's kind of you have the good migrants and you have the bad migrants. The good migrants to flee, they want to flee these bad countries, as Trump talked about last night. They want to flee. They have these bad countries. They want to flee these countries to come to a better country like Sweden. But the problem is they take these other migrants as well, who are bad migrants, and they bring all of their crap with them.
There's basically zero checks and balances, because that's not politically correct. So it's not politically correct to protect your culture and your country. So they just bring them all in, and then, like you said, the bad eggs get mixed in with the good eggs, and then cause the entire thing to be labeled as a bad egg, because that's just what you have to do. I mean, when it's basic self-protection. I mean, that's basic instinct of survival. And I just remember the school that they made. This was a while ago. They basically had this school where they brought all the migrants in. They sent them all to that school. And then a year goes by, it's so bad they have to fence the school up. They have to put huge fences with barbed wire. Another year goes by, it's so bad they have to shut the school down. I mean, to me, that told the whole story. But Peter, thank you for joining us. Thank you for staying up late. I know that it's late over there in Sweden. Follow all of Peter's work on his Twitter account, @PeterSweden7. That is before they try to ban him there. And, of course, his YouTube channel, where he gets the hardest-hitting videos right from the streets of Sweden. Peter, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
So there goes Peter Sweden. Always a pleasure to be joined by him. Unfortunately, we always have to cover the bad news about what's going on in his country, which is really sad. I mean, it's like the same thing with London. Trump says, I don't want to go to London. Well, can you blame him? You got a mayor in London that says, so get this, In fact, pull this tweet up from the Mayor Khan in London if you can find it, guys. The War Room quoted it too, so you can actually go to the War Room and find it, our Twitter account. But Mayor Khan says Trump is not welcome in London. So we are now living on a planet where the mayor of London says that Donald Trump is not welcome. However, that same mayor says that terrorism, that's violence and death and rape, that terrorism is part and parcel to his city. Wow. So Trump not welcome, terrorism welcome. That's the mayor of London, Khan. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to go to London either. Sad, I'd love to go visit London. I'd love to go visit Sweden, but I don't want to deal with all of this violence because of the open borders, crazy migrant situation with the rape and the death and the terror attacks. Folks, we're independent. I didn't even plug this hour. Please support us at InfoWarsStore.com. We've still got free shipping at InfoWarsStore.com. New products like Immune Wall, 50% off some of the top sellers like Secret 12, Survival Shield X2, Super Male Vitality. Support us at InfoWarsStore.com. Alex wants to expand to even more live broadcast in the near future, and it's only possible with your support at InfoWarsStore.com. Don't go anywhere. Second hour of the War Room right after these messages.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the Resistance.
Support this network, and not only support us, but trigger the verified libtards on Twitter. They had an absolute meltdown a few days ago. They found an ad that I had cut for Brain Force, which, by the way, you should also get at InfoWarsStore.com. Always use the opportunity to promote it even more. They had a meltdown over an ad that I cut in April, and they found it like it was some secret, and they were like, oh my God, this is the funniest thing ever. So they literally had an autistic screeching fit over an ad of me promoting Brain Force, which is a nootropic, which like literally half the people in Silicon Valley take, which everybody has their different brand of. Oh, but when InfoWars does it, it's bad and it's funny somehow. If that's the best they've got, we advertise products that got 5-star independent reviews that you see right there on InfoWarsStore.com. Brain Force Plus. They had an absolute meltdown. It was hilarious. They wrote Vice.com. Listen, if this is the best they've got against yours truly, I advertised Brain Force 6 months ago. Everybody in Silicon Valley takes some kind of nootropic. This isn't like some hokey snake oil. I mean, Joe Rogan built his entire podcast on selling his version of the exact same product. You're gonna go after Joe Rogan too? Absolutely incredible that they had all these massive hissy fits over me making an ad for Brain Force. Well, here I'm making another one right now. You're gonna get triggered over this? Good. We'll sell even more bottles of it. You're literally making InfoWars and me money with your autistic hissy fits. Carry on with your autistic screeching, because it's a lot funnier from my perspective. If that's all you've got, it's quite pathetic at this point. Get your Brain Force right now. Brain Force Plus, personally recommended by me at InfoWarsStore.com.
And now get Brain Force Plus at 50% off for a limited time at InfoWarsStore.com.